All right. What's up, guys? Nick? Oh, I just saw it. Sorry, bud. Is it classified or? Steve-O, how's it going? Frog? Good to see you. All right, guys. Give me just 1 second here. All right. Sorry about that, guys. Nick had some new stream toys that couldn't wait. How's everyone doing tonight? Let me get my life together here. All right. So how's everyone liking the bundle and the ships? What's the favorites? Chris, doing good? Awesome. I picked up one, and we're gonna talk about that in a minute. Audio's very low, like the mic. Let's see here. I don't think I can turn it up. Well, actually, I can turn it up a lot. Let's see. All right, is that better? Adjust the gain here. Does that sound better in the mic? Valkyrie's #1 regardless, huh? Driver, perfect, thank you. All right, let's jump into game here. Bundle Matt, our Royal favorite. Corolla #2. So the Corolla is what I ended up picking up. I think the Shangri-La for me is my favorite looking ship, and it's kind of why I'm in this one, which is the Connie 3. It's not actually the Shangri-La. I would have bought it if I didn't have this, just for the looks, and the ship itself is okay. Looks like you could do quite a bunch of different stuff on it. I don't know if you could do like top end in any of those one things, but it's a versatile ship that, you know, you can do quite a few different builds on. So on my main account, it didn't make sense because all those different kinds of builds you could do on it, there's specific ships that you can do it better. But, you know, if you don't have tons of ships, Shangri-La is a decent platform for doing a bunch of different, you know, kinds of gameplay, torpedo builds, any kind of energy weapon, tanking. It basically covers everything but science. Thinking about getting the Shangri-La, yeah, it's a decent ship. Like I said, if you don't have a lot of ships, especially, it provides a lot of flexibility for different kinds of gameplay. Legendary Avenger's your favorite. It's a good ship as well. I don't actually have that, but it is a really good ship. So I ended up picking up the Corolla, mainly for the trait and for the console. And I unlocked the trait, but I didn't use the ship at all. And I guess let's kind of look at that, because it's a you know, capable ship. I mean, pretty much any gaming ship is a capable ship, right? So, but there's better options. So I think that the what is it? The Terran Odyssey. I always forget the name. The what is it? I was just looking at it before I went live here. the Lexington. I think that's probably, the best ship for the kind of build that I'm running, and I did put the build that I'm running on that ship as well. We'll look at that here in a minute. But this ship, the layout's not bad. It's 4-4. You can put lots of isomags. You can upgrade it, use fleet consoles, but it's really, the stations on it here. So, temporal and command, can you make it work? Sure. And can you do really well with it? Definitely, could do well with it, but there's better combinations of the things. So if we look at, and I'm flying this because it maneuvers a little bit better than the Lexington, but the Lexington, and let's just go to that. It having Miracle Worker and Temporal is a much better combination for the kind of build that I'm running. So I really like Fire at Will. I know it's not the top end meta, but it just feels really nice and it's very thematic to me, and I just like it. And so I've constantly been working on ways to try and get as much out of it as I possibly can. And with these new parts from the Corolla, it's definitely boosting it up quite a bit, and we're gonna kind of dig into that here a bit. If you could only pick one, which would it be? Phoenix as a flyable ship, or Borg as a playable faction with Borg cube sphere. If Borg was a playable faction, I would definitely play that, and I would definitely fly a cube. Not the big tactical one, like the one that looks like the one that we saw in TNG, I think would probably be the way I would go. You have plenty of ships. Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, there's so many ships in the game, and if you've played it for any amount of time, I mean, this new stuff that comes out, I mean, you don't have to have it, right? You're either getting it for the feels, the way it looks, or, you're buying it for parts, and it kind of sucks. It's pretty rare to get a ship that, like, looks good, is a good platform, and has, parts that are good, and then parts that are also good for the build that you would put on that ship. They do a good job at kind of mixing that stuff up. Like if you look at the Maquis Raider, for example, it's Miracle Worker, basically a tactical ship. Was it 5.3, 5.1? Anyways, it's a cannon scatter volley build ship, and it comes with one of the better consoles for science builds. So it just doesn't really match, and it really kind of sucks that they do that. Documents, how you doing? Borg versus Borg, yeah. You start getting mixed up with your teammates, right? Targeting the wrong people. 5 tactical cubes. I think at some point they will release it. They're giving us a million reasons why they can't, because of the shape, which kind of went out the window with the Kadarian or Nidarian, or however you pronounce that. Is that the summer event ship a couple years back, the jellyfish ship? I mean, that thing's perfectly round, right? So to me, that kind of goes out the window. But I think when they start reaching for, ships that, I mean, there's a lot of ships in the game, and I know there's more, alien ships, obviously, they can pick from. But I think at some point we probably will get one, because everyone's going to buy one, right? I mean, I'll buy one. I mean, even if they make it, like a 3-3 carrier with, no secondary deflector, I mean, I'll fly it just because it's Borg cube. So basically, in the bundle, for me, from a value standpoint, because I rarely buy ships just based on how they look, it either has to be just a super awesome platform, which at this point, my main account here, I have tons of ships, so that's kind of hard to, if they come out with something that's, even better, say, than the Vaudois Juggernaut for cannon scatter volley, I don't know how they could make that ship better, other than it, maybe flying, being more maneuverable. It would just be a nuance thing that they would do. So generally, I'm looking for ships that are going to have, at least 2 of the 3 or 4 things on it. So console trait, and it's nice if the ship platform's decent, at least for something, even if it doesn't match, the build type that you would put with that console and trait. Or, like the Awani, it came with a pretty okay trait, the best console basically in the game, and the best hangar pets in the game, but the ship itself is just a standard carrier ship. So I'm I'm never really going to use that because it just falls behind. If they add a secondary deflector, then to me, the value of that goes up. And I know Bordicus did mention that they're looking at the possibility of adding secondary deflectors to all the carriers that are currently in the game. I personally think that would be an excellent idea because there's a lot of carriers and they're not really flown a lot, but if they put secondary deflectors on it, I think that, you know, people would use them. They're going to use them more so as science builds, obviously, but and for them as a company, I'm assuming that's a switch they just turn on or something, right? So I mean, it wouldn't be a ton of work, and now they've opened up the possibility of, you know, people actually buying some of those older you know, ships and even the, you know, or the newer ones, you know, but carriers in general. I got to imagine that's probably the smallest amount of sales for a ship. Cyber Elf, how's it going? So I went with the Lexington. I have been flying the Connie 3 just because I do like the way it looks, but the Lexington has Intel and it has Miracle Worker. So Intel has some of the best unconventional systems procs. The main reason that I really like this is for the override subsystems because it increases the maximum and current power setting levels for your ship. So down here, so with running isomags, if we bump that weapons power up even more, we're going to get more damage. But most importantly, the Awani console, which is this one here, Fleet Power Network, it requires a good amount of auxiliary power in order to really get the most out of the console. So by utilizing override subsystem safeties, then popping the auxiliary battery, and then activating the Fleet Power Network, you're going to maximize that console. So Intel's kind of a must for me. You know, if I'm really trying to build the best, you know, the highest end that I can in whatever particular, you know, build type that I'm playing with on any given day, because you're able to maximize this console. And if you're unfamiliar, so this comes off the Awani, and essentially what it does is when you click it, you get 35 seconds of an extremely high fire cycle haste for your energy weapons, 50% to 125%, which is just insane. And that scales off what your aux power is. So I keep my aux power low because I need my ship to move fast. So secondarily, I put the power into the engines, and then the rest are the max power setting I have for obviously the weapons, because that's where you're going to get the, you know, the most out of it. We need a playable Terran faction. I don't know if we're going to see any new factions, at least not anytime soon. With Deca, you know, they're still in the kind of infancy stages, I think, of running this, and I think that the amount of work involved, unless they were going to sell you access to the new faction, I don't know if they're going to do that or not. So Intel is super nice to have, and then Miracle Worker is obviously very nice to have as well with your narrow sensor bands. And with your mixed is this mixed armaments? What's the name of it? Energy weapons exceeds. Why doesn't it show the name? I'm pretty sure it's mixed armaments. Or did I slot the wrong one? Upgrade your next energy weapons for 10 seconds. Okay, power drain to 0. That's fire cycle haste. Okay. So the specializations in Miracle Worker are very good for energy weapon based builds. So the main reason I picked the Corolla is for the trait, which is kind of neck and neck with the console. And what this does, and from what Casual SAB was saying, this is not exactly working as it's intended to work. So during fire at will or beam overload, random targets, then 5 kilometers to your left and right broadside, you get the phaser damage. Or is it the console? It's the console that's not working right. So this is basically giving you additional, you know, phaser damage on the broadside anytime you run it. And I guess the name on the stream with fire at will buff is not 100% accurate because it's really beam buff. But I think beam overload's really kind of fallen behind. Other than like story, you know, mission content and stuff, it does okay. But if you're not being able to attack multiple targets at one time, especially in TFOs, that really, really slows down, you know, the pace of that TFO. So any kind of multi-targeted firing mode is really going to be the way you want to go. So this does a decent amount of damage. It's been losing out to the console on most of the testing that I've done, although on a couple of them it has beat out the console. But nice little upgrade to be able to drop in, and I really didn't have to give up anything that I felt like I couldn't live without. So that's what made it nice. Because with beam or fire at will, there's not a straight extension trait, and everything else is kind of similar to what you would have for cannon scatter volley. So it's kind of nice to have a really good option that is something that you can use with just beams like this. And that's what really was kind of drawing me to the ship, is that the parts that it had on it were pretty decent for that that kind of build style. So the console is the Broadside combat mode, and what this does is it gives you 25% all damage. And I thought that was just for your broadside only. Yeah, so just in the broadside arc, this gives you that additional damage. So it kind of incentivizes you to fly the ship that way in order to maximize what you're getting out of it. The clicky on it is kind of insane. So, and again, it's thought that this isn't interacting the way that it's supposed to. So you have times 10 over 5 seconds. So it doesn't run for very long. So on first look, I was thinking that this wouldn't be that great. But it is doing really well, and it may be because it's not working as intended. If they do fix it, I think it'll make it probably not worth running. So I hope that they don't. And I don't think they need to, because I don't feel like it's doing way too much damage. It's not like the Agony Redistributor, where it was just ridiculous, the amount of damage that thing was putting out. It makes it a viable console with the way that it's working. So from what I understand, the issue is that, so the way that it works is it's supposed to fire, and let me pull up the actual tooltip here. I'm just reading it through, make sure I didn't mix this up with the trait. In the next 5 seconds, 0.5 up to 5 foes, each left and right, 90%, okay, 90-degree arc, 10 kilometers. Each hit, okay, targets impulse subsystems, okay, for 1 second, okay, subsequent refreshes that, times 10, phaser damage. I don't understand this part here, where it lists 2 different values for this. So your left and right 90-degree arc for almost 8,000 phaser damage and 15,000, almost 16,000 phaser damage. I don't know why it has that listed twice. Supply, okay, impulse subsystem offline. Yeah, that's kind of weird that it has it like that. So anyways, this only runs for the 5 seconds, but it's insane. I mean, in just advanced infecteds, I mean, this is doing like 100k, which is really good. Again, I don't think it's overpowered, but it is really good. But if they make any adjustments to that, it'll probably make it not worth having. How much did you pick that up in the C-Store ship factor in? I don't know if I understand your question exactly, but I got this with the coupon before they fixed the issue they were having with the restricted coupons. Otherwise, though, I think they're on sale, so for $30. Would I have paid $30 if I didn't have a coupon for it? I would not have. The reason you picked this ship to run this on, the reason I picked the ship that I have this gear on, the Lexington, is because of the seating. So being a Intel Miracle Worker ship is just the right combinations for really maximizing this. The Juggernaut's similar as well. In fact, it probably would be better, at least in terms of the seating, but it's kind of a nightmare to fly. And for fire at will, it just doesn't feel as thematic, I guess you could say, to me. So I like this over the Avenger. The standard Avenger, 100%, it's a better ship. The Legendary Avenger, I don't have it. I'd have to look at the stats on that to answer that question for you. For cannon scatter volley, I think the Legendary Avenger is going to be better for sure. Okay, yeah, so it's the trait, okay, beam firing cycle per weapon. Yeah, okay. I was getting mixed up which one isn't acting the way that it's supposed to. So the trait, what it says is that you get, let's see, an additional phaser beam per fire cycle per weapon. But what you're getting is under fire at will, each fire cycle, you're getting ×3 shots per weapon. And this is mirroring that. So you're basically getting, 3 times the amount that you would under that firing mode for the trait. So the trait is what is not acting the way that the tooltip states that it is. Augie, what's up, buddy? I'm doing good, man. I will be doing a Kmart build with a similar kind of setup to this on one of my free-to-plays that I'll be putting out probably sometime next week. Not a free, but a budget. So budget being C-store stuff, nothing that's promo or ship lockbox kind of stuff. So I don't think they need to adjust this trait. In fact, let's we're gonna jump into an ISA, just do a run and just see which one comes in first, because it's basically neck and neck with the console. So but let's just run it and then take a look at what the numbers are that we get from it. Yeah, Augie, it's we're living in it, but I almost have one complete bathroom. I've been working on this shower for fucking, it feels like my whole life, but I just have the floor to grout now, and hopefully that'll be done tomorrow. Kitchen's going to go in starting next week, and then I'll have a fully functioning house. But it is nice being out of the RV. That went on a little bit longer than I anticipated, at about 15 months. So, all right, if anyone wants to jump in on this, I'll wait a couple seconds to actually click it. So if you want to jump in on it, go ahead and click it now, and I'm going to click it in about 10 seconds because there's a delay in you hearing my voice. All right. Yeah, I don't think I'll be camping for a while. I've never been an RV camper kind of a person, but like if I go camping, I want to like sleep in a tent and, chop wood and stuff like that. I don't want to roll a mini house out there. To me, it kind of defeats the purpose, but next week's stream, I'm going to schedule for probably Sunday. I'm going to probably go back to Sunday early afternoons. We'll be doing some giveaways on that as well. I'll probably schedule it a couple days in advance so you guys know. So be on the lookout for that. You dare me to go to Karat? I'll go to Karat and die. I mean, these ships are, the way that they're built are not designed for PvP. I will get spanked very quickly. I don't have anything against PvP or Karat or any of that either, so like I just don't normally play it. Lexington also has a hangar bay, which is super awesome. Brett did help me set up a PvP build a while back. But I would still get a spanking because I don't have any practice. I don't know how you guys do that either, because it's pretty intense. Like, it's already hard to press all the buttons, you know. You gotta remember to keep this thing broadside, because that's where you get the best out of it. Most of these beam boats, though, they're just not very fast, and so a lot of these turn into a who can get there first, you know, kind of thing. I didn't even use the Juggernaut array. What would be a good ship that's got intel and miracle worker, and it isn't a cruiser? It's something smaller than a cruiser, but is preferably a 4-4. I mean, I guess it could be a 5-3 as well. So it'd be nice to be able to put a build like this on something that's faster. Pteronectomy is a name I haven't heard in a while. I wonder how he's doing. I need to turn on my my mini split. Intriguing, that's another name I haven't heard in a little while. If you're in the stream, buddy, it's good to see you. I miss you. Sorry, give me just a second to turn this on. And then we'll look at the breakdown. I'm really interested to see how these mini splits work in the summertime. 'Cause I didn't do central air. I did mini splits in every room. Some of the bigger rooms, I did multiple mini splits. It gets to be 120 here, so. All right, let me make sure we're looking at the right one. We are. All right, so mycellular lightning did the most, then emulating, and then we have phaser beam arrays, and then full broadside. So these did not do as well here. I think we had everybody that was in the run was really helping that move along, so I didn't get to use that fully twice on the console. And let me just check too, because I'm constantly getting the console and the trait mixed up. So full broadside is the console. So full broadside, and then we have broadside beam support. So that got beat out big time by the console, and that's what I've been seeing for most of the testing that I've been doing. So if we look at, like, let me see if this is a solo. That's in a different ship. This was in a Hive the other night. So full broadside in that Hive was almost 100K. And then the broadside support was about a fourth of that. And like I said, I have had a couple runs where that's higher, but I think that the way you pilot the ship is going to be super important to how well the trait does. So on that run, I was focusing more on just getting from A to B because things were dying so quick with everybody that was in that team. So there wasn't a lot of time to really kind of get into position, get broadside. It was more kind of get there, get over to the next one. By the time I got to the next one, it was almost dead. So I started flipping around and turning there. I think the game probably has years. I know it sounds weird because it just feels like there's constant problems, and to be fair, there are, but the player base hasn't really fluctuated over the past 10 years on this game. As long as they keep making at least a little bit of content a year, I think you'll still have a good amount of people playing it, or at least the same amount of people playing it. But I get your sentiment for sure. Can you use Aquarius console on the Lexington? Let's take a look. That launches the shuttle out of the back, doesn't it? They added LT player. They added some parts with the Corolla, a console, and also a trait that dramatically helps fire at will and beam overload. But fire at will is, I think, superior at this point. So it doesn't. It's not like extending the time of fire at will or directly affecting the firing mode, but it's a pieces that synergize with it very, very well. This is the old wiki, but let's see here. So these are the, tier 5 ones? Isn't there tier 6 versions of it? Is that what you're asking about? Yeah, so because you get this console. Justin, how's it going, man? You can get this console from the legendary. I don't think it's locked. Any Odyssey variant, and I'm pretty sure the Lexington is a variant of it. I guess the 100% answer is I'm not sure, because I don't know. Yeah, it's got to, because I can kit bash the Lexington with all the other Odyssey parts, so it's got to work with that. It's a Odyssey variant. I hear STO saying, or people saying STO wasn't going to last for quite some time, and it's still here. Yeah. Not to get too off subject, but I think, and I, I don't want to go down the rabbit hole, but I have a lots of complaints, not necessarily of the game itself, but anyways, I don't want to get way into that, but there's a lot of stuff to complain about for sure. But so part of me wants to be like, yeah, I can't believe it'll be around for years, but I do believe it'll be around for years. I don't think they would have migrated it over and hired a whole new team if they didn't at least have a 5-year horizon plan for the game. I mean, they spent millions of dollars, just moving it from Cryptic Studios over to Deca. Let's go into a Hive. And just a disclaimer, I think in Hive, there's lots of stuff broadside. The only issue with Hive is I can't help myself but run into warp core breaches. So there will most likely be a death. And then the queen at the end, if there's not a science, someone to debuff her when she does that feedback pulse, it never fails. Every time I die. Okay. Let me make sure this is on correct. It is. Okay. So we're going to go Hive. And again, I'll wait about 10 seconds before I click it. training people to understand the coding. Yep. I mean, there's a lot of time and effort that's gone in, and I get the feeling that you know, a lot of the new people and the old people that they've kept, I mean, they're obviously, you know, committed to the game. Especially the new people seem, you know, pretty excited. I mean, the little that we've kind of seen from them. I wish we would see a little bit more from the community manager. I know there was some stuff on the back end they're trying to get worked out before they, you know, quote unquote, communicate with us. But I wonder what that means. Like, does that mean they're going to do, you know, 10 forward streams again? Does that just mean they'll, you know, respond to us in, you know, forums, things like that? So I'm interested to find out a little bit more about what does communication look like. I do hope, you know, some of the newer people are also playing and getting into the game. I think that's one of the biggest issues. And I know there's people that play the game that, you know, worked there before, but sometimes it seems like there's a little bit of a disconnect. You know, when things come out and the way that they work, even when they're working as intended, it's just kind of surprising that some things make it into game that aren't. They're not an accident. It seems like they didn't realize how we would be using that and what we would be synergizing it with and those kinds of things. And then you end up with a nerf. So I hope we don't see any kind of major nerfs from the new guys. So that always feels bad. You buy a ship. I remember I bought the is it the Adamant? I got the Agony Redistributor. I bought it with one of the event coupons on my free-to-play. My free-to-play, I don't spend any money, so like every, you know, asset that I get on that is, you know, big time for me. And I got the ship, and literally it was the following week they nerfed the Agony Redistributor a lot. And it was broken, I mean, to be fair, but my complaint was, you know, we'll say something like you're going to be doing this, so I don't go and, you know, spend resources that I don't have a lot of on this thing when it's not going to be what I thought it was. Let's see if I can get into a spot where warp core breaches aren't going to kill me. I'm definitely going to die. It's a miracle. Let's see if we make it through the end. Let's get in the middle here. And let's get broadside. Alright, we need to kill this before the feedback pulse. There we go. GG's. One of those hex cannons? Yeah, I want those too. That comes off the Achilles. I don't have the ship. I'll probably actually use a coupon just for those on my main account here. The ship itself is pretty decent too. But those hexacannons, the way that the fire cycle haste is affected on them by some of these new fire cycle haste consoles, make that experimental weapon one of the best in the game, and it looks fucking cool. I want to put that on one of the Defiant variants with like the quad cannons, you know, because then it'll all kind of have that similar kind of look, just lots of it coming out. Yeah, the ship is decent, and it looks cool too. Looks cool, good ship. Good, you know, the cannons are good, or the hex cannon is the experimental weapon. I don't know so much about the traits in the console. I think they were like okay, if I remember correctly when I was looking at it. But you're at least, you know, you're getting a good platform and you're getting a good experimental weapon. So it's lower on the value proposition, because not every ship I can put the experimental weapon on, right? Unlike, you know, a console that's unlocked or something like that. Do it on the Adamant. Yeah, I bet that looked cool too, firing. Did an ICSV build to level the Achilles. Yep. CSV, like anytime I get a ship, there's two ways. So like I'll either put, like probably a cannon scatter volley build. Normally what I'll do though is I'll log in with another account of mine and I'll go into a patrol on advanced, or elite's better because you would only have to do one, but I'll go in and do that, and most of the time one patrol you can fully unlock a ship. David, how you doing? So if you got a friend, and you guys team up, go into like Wanted or the Ninth Rule are the two that I like to use. So if you have a friend that's got, pretty decent build, even in advanced, because if you go on an advanced, worst case, you do a Ninth Rule and then go do a Wanted Argala, and you don't even have to set the ship up. And that's, again, if it's a ship that, like the Corolla, I wasn't going to fly it. I kind of decided right off the bat that I probably wasn't, at least not for right now. And so I didn't want to have to spend 20 minutes building it and, go up to space and configure my, my tray and do all those things. I just wanted to get the trade unlocked, right? So going in with a friend into a patrol on at least advanced and doing 2 on advanced or doing an elite, you should be able to unlock a ship. And that's provided you can, kind of eat through, the waves of enemies. I like Ninth Rule because you just have all of those waves. I'll jump into 1, 2 here. We'll try this ship in that. So if anyone needs a ship unlocked, if we go in on one of those, you can get almost the whole thing unlocked. If you do it just through TFOs, it takes a long time. So patrols are the best way to just, get a trade unlocked if that's all you want off of that ship. Let's take a look at the numbers on this last one that we just did. Oh, man. I think my combat log got corrupted. Oh, that sucks. No, it's not going to let me look at it. It won't let me trim it. It won't let me split it. Can I continue? Oh, that's a bummer. All right, let me fix my combat log real quick, and then we'll go into a Ninth Rule. Bear with me just a second here. Wanted elite every time. Yeah, if you build the ship out to be able to handle an elite, then the wanted elite's the best, because it's just, there's a set number of groups, and if you complete all of that, you're good to go. The Ninth Rule, you get an endless amount of waves within the timer, and if you don't kill enough of the waves, it won't be enough in order to unlock it. But if you do that one on advanced and your build's good enough, you can kill enough waves to unlock a ship on advanced in the Ninth Rule. But Agala is 100% basically. As long as you complete it, then on elite, then you're going to get it. David, advanced normally takes 2 attempts 80-90% of the time. If I'm doing it like with a friend, it does. If I build the ship out and take the time for it, then I normally can get it on the first try. Normally, it depends on the ship. Like when I was unlocking the Owani, I didn't want to spend a lot of time on that with because I did build that one out. That one took me 2 times, but it's also not a super powerful ship because it's a Harrier, a carrier without a secondary deflector. So it was really kind of difficult to be able to get enough damage out in order to get that unlocked on one attempt. Okay, I've almost got this combat log fixed. Let me see, stow. Logs. I guess I copied the where it was located, so let's do that. Yeah, with Oscar, I'm finding it. Oops, that's not what I want. This problem with it not being able to read my combat logs seems to be happening more often. Okay, that should fix it. OG Galaxy class skin. You know, that's an older skin in the game, but it looks so good. Maybe it's just nostalgia, but I mean, even the materials and everything on it just look really good, especially, you know, even close up. The Strike's a good ship. That's a really good ship. Some of the guys that I do, you know, the coordinated high-end runs and stuff, they're using that ship with cannon scatter volley. They're doing the plasma builds on it. I mean, you can do phaser and stuff too, but that's a really good ship. Justin, do you have that same problem with Oscar? I would with the last one. What was it? Combat log reader, Stowe combat log reader. That one I rarely, every now and then I would get a corrupted file. My biggest problem is that it works so well that I one time I had a log that was almost a gig and it would take forever to load. It got so big it became kind of like a pride point to see how, how big I could get it. And Nick and B, he was always yelling at me to get rid of it because I'm waiting, you know, 5 minutes to get my results. Okay, I'm gonna take this into. Should I try an elite? I might embarrass myself with that, but let's just give it a try and see. We'll make it fun. When I'm trying to unlock things and, you know, get my endeavors, I'm generally trying to do what's the easiest. But let's try it on elite. Where are we going here? All patrols. 9th roll. And how am I looking on batteries? Okay. So I was using the World Razor Starship trait in this build. Does it work well with FOB Beam Overload? It would probably actually work better with Beam Overload than Fire at Will. Because with Fire at Will, we have ETM, so that's basically the quote-unquote extension trait for it. So y'all use Fire at Will, and then that also loads up Torpedo Spread. And then once those torpedoes go off, I use Torpedo Spread to load up more Fire at Will, right? So that's how you kind of rotate back and forth. But if I use Torpedo Spread, then it'll lock out Fire at Will. So I'm probably not getting as much uptime on that. But I am in some instances, as long as the timing is correct. Because I believe this stacks, I think it stacks 3 times, if I'm not mistaken. K plus 50. I believe it stacks 3 times. So, but that's why I have cannon scatter volley on my tray here as well, even though I don't have any cannons on it. It's to boost that. So yes, it does work, but because of the way ETM, Entwined Tactical Matrix, interacts with all of these firing modes, it's not as efficient as it otherwise could be if it was a scatter volley build or, you know, any other kind of build. Because all the other builds for the most part have a dedicated extension trait for it. So that's the only kind of downfall.
I thought I made myself clear to that woolly-faced Starfleet admiral.
I really have to start on the on my trays. I like to press my hotkeys, I think, way too much. Oh no. I hate this burst where it sends you off flying. Try and stay broadside here. Yeah, if they gave us a straight extension trait, that would be nice. Excuse me. I have a feeling that it could be somewhat overpowered. Don't ask me how exactly, because I'm not sure. But I think that could be a potential issue, but it would be nice, even if it was just a 3-second extra. Nick's jealous of my mood lighting. Now we're going to get his straightened out. He just picked up a couple lights for his room. They got there fast, too. We were looking at those last night. I'm actually surprised at how well this is doing in Elite. I did set it to Elite, didn't I? Yeah. Beam overloads on, yeah, it's a Lobi ship. The I think it's the ugliest ship in the game, but it's the one of the Zindi primate ship. Yeah, what on the exchange? What are Lobi ships going for these days? I haven't looked lately, but last time I did, it was low 200s, and every now and then it'll drop underneath that a bit. I like to waste a little bit of time here so I can get my consoles off cooldown. I also like to go around the circle here before I enter it to get in flanking position, so when the waves come in. Otherwise, if you just fly right into it, it can kind of be a nightmare getting cleanup right away. So I like to fly around the back here. I'm going to kind of cut the corner too because I want to come in broadside. So I'm going to slow me down a little bit. I probably should have buffed up, but that's okay. So, I'm broadside, but I'm going to have to poke my head in here in order to fire torpedoes in order to free up torpedo spread so that I can utilize it for the fire at will ETM extension. So it's a little bit tricky. Oh, I'm about to die. Too close? Oh, well, okay. Nightmare on console. I could see that being a problem because you can't just on console. You can't just activate your abilities nilly willy, right? I mean, it's a it just automatically happens. That's my understanding. I played on console like years and years back. Why won't this activate? Or is it activated? It is activated. Okay. Years back, but I never got like past the tutorial. I want to get the console off one more time before this ends. Juggernaut's a good ship. On my free-to-plays, though, like, I passed on it, even though at some point I would definitely want to get that. Because more importantly, you know, then, like, you can have just a decent ship, but if you have good gear and good traits, then that's much more important than the actual ship that it's on. The ship's kind of the last thing that'll, you know, really kind of push that last bit of performance out of it. So, like, on my main free-to-play, I've been running that for, what, 3.5, almost 4 years. So I've gone through a couple event campaigns. And this year, I got the Phaser Lance. The year before, I got Universal Design Starship trait. I was looking for, you know, high-end traits that also were usable for a lot of different things. So like those two things I would use on everything from a torpedo build to a beam build to a cannon build to even a science build. And it's really, really good stuff, you know. So I don't have any like really good hero ship. I mainly run the Vengeance from the Lobi store on it. And I've been able to build that to be able to hit about 500k with the cannon scatter volley build disruptor. Is about the max. I did put together a torpedo build, which is what I was kind of getting things for until I decided to just kind of move over to cannon scatter volley. And in supported runs, it would it'd break 1 million, but without having all the good things and min maxing it, that's without spending any money. That's really, really hard to do unless you have 5 or 6 event campaigns under your belt. All right, let's see if my combat log is fixed. So I was able to activate that console, 3 or 4 times in that run. I was thinking the other day, parsing the very end of the 9th rule, I think would be a good baseline, map to check a build. You make an adjustment, you want to see what kind of difference it makes. We use infected advanced quite a bit, but it's probably one of the most consistent maps, forgetting about like server lag and issues like that. But if I get in with somebody else that's doing very, very well, it becomes more of a, there's only so many hit points to take, so there's a lot of variation. I have started doing some solo stuff, because then it's very consistent like that. But if you're on, like on my free-to-plays, I can't do solo builds because they just won't make it. So I was thinking I wonder if I can just turn on my combat log like right before that end phase with all the waves, and you can just see how many waves can you do and what kind of damage does that add up. Back when they had the Foundry in the game, there was a whole bunch of player-created maps and things like that, and there was some really good stuff for testing your builds and doing things like that, on top of a lot of story stuff that people were into, a lot of RP kind of thing, which isn't really my thing. But it's kind of a bummer that's gone, but I don't think that's ever coming back. What's a yearly ship? I can't remember how I said that. I wish yearly ships would be account unlocks. Okay. So what he's saying is that with the event campaign, so every year there's a string of events that happen throughout the year. We'll look at that combat log here in just a moment. So there's a string of events. There's been one so far this year. I think the next one's going to probably start sometime next week. And basically by playing those events, so let's pretend one of the events for the event campaign is this red alert. It is not, but you would play this event, you would get the reward for it, but it would also give you points for this event campaign. At the end of the event campaign, you can get a box that'll give you promo ships or lockbox ships, but they're only for that one character that you open the box on. So if I were to get, the Vodwar Juggernaut on this character, it would only be for this character and none of the other ones. The coupons or any ship from the C store, when you purchase one, that's account unlock, and you can reclaim them on any character, which that also applies to if you buy it with this coupon here. Same thing with Lobi items. If you buy Lobi items, the ships you can sell and you could give to another character, but once you open it and utilize the ship on a character, then it's locked to that character. So that's what he was talking about there. All right, let's look at the breakdown on that trait and console. All right, so full broadside did the best, and then broadside beam support did about, that's about a third. That's pretty consistent with the other 3 runs that we've done, or at least the 2, because the last run we didn't get any data on, but so that's pretty consistent, and that's pretty consistent with what I've been seeing just playing with this stuff. There's been a couple where it's beat the console out, but I'm not sure why that happened. And it's not that the console did bad. I mean, I was averaging on the solo runs about 100k for the console, but there was a couple where it beat it out by a couple thousand. It wasn't a ton, but it did better than it. And so it's not that the console did worse, it just did better, and I'm not sure why. The only thing that I can think of that would affect that trait is the way that I piloted, because if I'm broadside, that's where the the trait is gonna affect. So basically, the trait doesn't give you any effect if you are pointing at an enemy. Let's say like, I don't know, this ship right here. If I can stop my ship. So this guy here, if I'm shooting at him like this, that trait's not going to have any kind of effect for me. So turning sideways though to your broadside, that's where you're going to get, the effect from that trait. And the same thing with the console as well. So to get the maximum out of that console, you're going to want to go in, let's say, this is counterpoint and you got DS9 and, bad, and let's say all these people are bad guys. If I click this console here, I'm not going to get very much out of it at all because it's only working out the broadside. So to get the best effect is you would want to move in like the middle of everything. That's why like Hive, you could probably get the best numbers out of it. Getting into the middle of everything like this, even these ships up above, even though they're above, they're still on the broadside arc. So you want to activate the console when you're sitting broadside or in the middle of a group of enemies. So the only reason I can think that trait outperformed the console in those couple scenarios was just that I must have just done a good job at arriving to where the enemies are and immediately being broadside, and it just farming that extra damage that you get from it. That's really the only thing I can think of. I'm gonna jump into the Connie 3. I just love the way it flies, and then I was really hoping they wouldn't fix right away the coupon issue with getting these, because I kind of wanted to get one on one of my like really free to plays, because what I want to put together is a fire at will build that's budget, so like 2 or 3 C-store ships and the rest either crafted or maybe Lobi. I don't know, guys. It's kind of tough, right? So I can do build videos, or build videos can be done for like your high-end like augmented dictator. He used to always do meta builds. Spencer focuses a lot on the top min-max meta builds. A lot of the stuff I have on my channel is free to play or is budget. The problem is budget is subjective, right? I mean, that depends on what you think budget is. And so I'm trying to come up with some guidelines that's not free, but it's budget. And so what does budget mean? And should I take into account the event campaign? So does budget has to also include time playing the game, right? Because if you're somebody that starts the game 3 months ago and you're going to be, free to play, but you want to be able to put together budget builds and stuff, I mean, you're going to have to play the game for at least a year to get the event campaigns, or at least for months in order to unlock all of your reps and all the other stuff, right? So I really need to figure out some criteria for that. Maybe I'll come up with a couple different, choices or ideas on it, and then I'll put a poll up or something like that and see what you guys think. But I'm kind of thinking like, I don't know, let's say 3. I don't know. It's just so hard, because I could put it in terms of you've played for a year and done 1 event campaign. So you have a promo ship and you have two C-store ships. That's very budget. So maybe there needs to be like 2 tiers of budget, right? So like 1 year budget or 2 year budget, and base it around 2 C-store ships and 4 C-store ships. Anyways, I kind of squirreled off there a little bit, but it's something I've been kind of thinking through, because I want to be able to make, content that, build stuff that, number one, I like, and I really like the budget. I really like trying to make the most I can with as little as possible. And that happens to also be the most accessible to the largest amount of players, right? Not everybody can go and spend, even $30 a month on the game. I don't even do that, MMOs are just so weird, not to squirrel off even harder, but STO is the first MMO I played ever, right? And I've played video games for years and years and years. It took me a while to really like accept that I have to keep buying stuff in this game, right? Because before I'd go down to the store and I'd buy a game and I'd play that game a lot, like Command and Conquer or Homeworld or whatever. And so the whole concept of subscription, which I think I actually like even more at this point, But the whole concept of continually needing to buy stuff in a game, it sucks, number one, but it was kind of hard for me to accept. All right, so this ship has Miracle Worker, but it does not have Intel. So that's kind of a bummer, but it still does really, really good. I was able to do a solo ISA in it, but just barely. Things came off a cooldown like just at the right time. I'm gonna do a solo. Let's just give it a try, and I'm gonna leave the map right at the end so I don't get hit on a cooldown, and we can all run one together here after that. Let's see here. I need to put a wrong button counter up because I'm clicking a lot of the wrong stuff tonight. Let's see here. Infected. How many of you guys have gone into infected menace instead of conduit? One night I did it, and it was on advanced, and I was not on. I didn't have any like ground stuff on at all, and it was a nightmare. And the group I was in with was struggling as well, but like they were very communicative in chat, and it wasn't like hate or anything. It was like everyone. I ended up having, long story short, a really good time just like talking to these guys and we finally got through it, but it took us like 30 minutes. It was ridiculous. It's always a bummer. All right, let's try this here. Do beam overload. Yeah, you gotta have the Zendi ship for beam overload. Most of the videos, beginner guide videos I made on the channel were based around beam overload. What's going on here? I didn't change the difficulty. Stupid. I can leave because it's private. Yes, I played this game because I've watched Star Trek since I was little. So when I started it, so my wife, in fact, on the shelf behind me, in fact, let me grab it. Check this out. Hold on one second. Don't judge my sweatpants either. I hadn't planned on streaming tonight, but it's kind of stupid. But I hung up my guitar, and I'm like, this is starting to come together more. I'm just gonna go live, and I don't know. That's what made me do it. But yeah, I hung up my guitar back there. Anyways, so my wife bought me the game when it was made by an Atari when it first came out, and I didn't even have a gaming computer then, and so I didn't play it. And then it went free to play. I had gotten a gaming computer, and I'm cheap, so like I was always looking for free stuff to play, all of that. So I'm like, oh yeah, there's this game. My wife had got me it, and now it's free to play. So I'm gonna download it, check it out. So I downloaded it. I got through the tutorial, and then I was dropped off in space, and I had no idea what to do. I didn't understand MMOs and missions and all of that stuff. So I didn't play. I didn't try it again for like 3 or 4 months. And at the time I was, I'm trying to think when this was. This was like 2016 or whatever. But I basically figured out, well, hey, YouTube has like everything you could need to know about games. And I already knew that, like that it had everything you need to know about anything because I had, learned to do HTML and a bunch of other crap on there. So I ended up going to YouTube and figuring out, okay, how do I slot the next mission, right? And there wasn't a video on that. So what I had to do is watch a bunch of videos. And I was looking for, what I did is I looked for mission playthroughs, and I was able to find, and it took me a couple to where they actually showed themselves launching the mission and going in, in here and picking one. Most of them just started right when the mission started, and that was it. So it, anyways, this was my first MMO, and that's why I, tried it out because I've always been a big big Star Trek fan. Grumpy, 5 gifted. Hey, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. That's awesome, man. And I'm glad I was working on the alerts the other day, so I was able to hear them. So we had a little bit of when I went on Twitch last time, I had a couple people follow and stuff, and I didn't know because I couldn't hear anything. So thank you again, Grumpy. I really appreciate that. All right, let's try this again and change the difficulty. I know a lot of the guys are doing Elite, and I think I might start putting some stuff together for that for myself just for fun. But I think for most players, Advanced is probably the right place to be kind of putting together these, you know, budget builds to be able to do either solo or do well, you know, really well in a pug run. I think too for the solo stuff, that's something I have to talk to Nick about. He probably would be well suited for putting together, because he really likes his tanking stuff. I'm gonna have to ask Nick if you're still here. I want to see you put together a solo ISE build. It can take as long as it needs to, but yeah, the Lexington has that hangar bay too. So having the Type 7 shuttles with the debuff is really, really nice. Keep forgetting to get UD up here. Okay, engines are up. I always forget that. Any ship you want, Nick. It's just got to be very budget. Very, very budget. All right, guys. Fingers crossed here. All right, I need to get turned around, but also be broadside. Okay, so far we're doing okay. A little slide action. Okay, it's getting a little hairy now. I really need the DPRM to come to life for me here soon. Got an idea. Oh, I really want to use the fleet power network. Oh, damn it. I wasn't paying attention. DPRM was up too, but I was paying attention to, I wanted my auxiliary battery come off cooldown before I used the fleet power network. I got a bad feeling. Well, DPRM's still up. I need to stay broadside. Trying to focus on keep my mouth closed as well as I'm concentrating. All right. All right, so that's definitely doable without dying. But that you really have to time that DPRM, making sure that if I would have been paying attention to it and clicked it, then we wouldn't have died there. So the build can easily do that as long as you're really paying attention. So with the death, that dropped us down quite a bit. Because we probably would have been scratching about 500. Oh, I don't need to scan. Let's look at analysis. Don't have the DPRM. It's that used to be like the console, like to go for, you know. And I remember when I finally got it and I put it on my ship, and I didn't even notice a difference. Part of it's not, you know, using it, timing it correctly and stuff, but it's a good console. But you can live without it if you have to, because that's a ship where like the ship kind of looks cool to me. It's not terrible, but it's really old. But you're basically just getting the ship to pull that one console off it, you know, which feels bad. But I mean, but the console is usable on pretty much any style of build, you know. So let me see. Full broadside. So full broadside. So they were a little bit closer this time. I think that's because we were longer on target and longer, positioning broadside wise. I was gonna leave that map too before I finished it, so I didn't get the cooldown. Dang it. Yeah, the last cube's tough. You really need to have DPRM or, something that's going to give you really good regen or somehow completely drop threat, something like that. Kabali event ship is a great... What console is that? Yeah, I hope, Justin, I hope they do another event like that this year where they give us Lobi. Or it wasn't Lobi, I'm sorry, the Phoenix pack. Because on one of my free-to-plays, I didn't play it, and I'm, like, really regretting it. They gave us an epic Phoenix token mid-last year for an event that was really, really cool. So you can get the domino console off of that, which is it's a good phaser boost. The clicky on it gives you fire cycle haste and bonus damage. Soul defense set. I use that quite a bit. I don't know if it would be enough though, because you'd be better off. I mean, if you were building for solo, you could do the do I have any in my inventory? Yeah, you could use these here. These are the tactical consoles from the colony, your fleet colony, and they give you a chance for a decent heal anytime you use a special firing mode. So if you have 3 or 4 of these on there, and then I would run it with the 2-piece at a minimum of the discovery set. So right now I'm using the Tholian warp core for the damage that it does, but like on my free to plays, what I have is the shield and the warp core, and then I'm running also the engine for the mycelial lightning. But the 2-piece for the discovery space set here, it gives you a bunch of extra regen, and so it synergizes well with those fleet colony consoles. So that could be a way, but it's just tough. Like at the end of an infected, if you're getting hammered by the gate and the cube, and you're by yourself, with torpedo spreads, it's pretty tough. But let's see here. Yeah, so 120% hull regen, which is really, really good. It makes a big difference in advanced. All right, guys, here's what I'm going to do. I didn't even plan on streaming quite this long, but I'm going to get a quick refill on my drink, and then I think what we'll do is I'd like to just go over to one of my free-to-play accounts, and we'll just kind of do a comparison. I don't have these consoles on it, but just so we can get a look at what you can do with very, very little, in the game. I think these days I spend more time on my free-to-play accounts because I just get more enjoyment from, again, making as much as I can out of as little as possible, and trying to get as much as I can, for free, not having to spend money and, finding pieces from missions and the rep and coming up with, odd combinations to make stuff work. What's Zen budget? You're going to have to spend a little bit of money in this game to make, stuff that at least feels decent, or you got to put in at least a year, from a beginning of a year to an end of the year. So if you start playing, you know, mid-year, it's kind of tough to complete the campaign. But the updates that they've made to the campaign are pretty awesome, you know, being that now you get all three, because prior you could only pick one of the three rewards, either the Lobi, a promo / lockbox ship, or the 2 C-Store coupons. And when it was locked like that, where you could only pick one on all my free-to-plays, I picked C-Store ships. It was just the best bang for buck, even though, like, you know, there's some badass ships with badass traits. There's some basic stuff that you can get out of the C-Store that are, you know, must-haves, and you'll use them on everything, you know, forever, basically. Yeah, but making that change was pretty awesome. David, I know that feeling. You know, you can actually go on to it's the Play Star Trek Online website. It moves you over to the, I think, the ARC website, but you can see a list of every single purchase that you made. What sucks is it doesn't add it up for you. So you have to go through, there's like, I don't know, 10 transactions, 15 transactions per page. So they're all there, but like if you've been playing for a long time, you know, $10 here, $30 there, you know, anniversary bundle, you know, those kind of things. You could have a lot of pages. I don't know if I want to add it all up. I'm just guessing I've probably, and this isn't a lot compared to a lot of players, I'm guessing I've spent maybe 2,000, maybe a little bit more than that. It's kind of hard to judge because it's always smaller kind of purchases. I think 2,000 is probably fair over the course of, what, 7 years now? Lately, over the past year, I haven't spent very much at all. The event campaigns and the way that they've changed those have made this game very accessible to play for free. If you're willing to put the time in. And if you're not, I mean, you're kind of in the wrong game, right? Because it is an MMO. You have to, you know, put the time in. And at a minimum, you know, log in and, you know, do the events and, you know, and all those kinds of things. Does my camera get bumped? I think I kicked it. I feel like I'm really close to this edge of the screen. Maybe chair over a little bit. I must have moved it when I got up. Been on since launch. Took a huge break. Play a lot for the past few years. Yeah, I started in, was it 20... I think it was like 2018, I want to say. Whatever year that the Bajoran Interceptor was the anniversary event ship. That's when I first kind of figured out how to, like, get to missions, but I had no understanding of how events worked and any of that. I tried. It was on the Tholian world. And I remember I went in and stuff, but I was clueless. And so I was unable to unlock that ship for account reclaim, which is a big bummer. Yeah, and it is. I mean, you're 100% right, Chad. The playing games, you know, the way that this has evolved, I mean, just in general, I mean, even, you know, Fortnite. I mean, my wife plays Fortnite. I mean, it is a hobby. I mean, that is how you have to look at this. And I think it always has been. It's just, it has gotten more expensive, though, you know. I mean, I remember playing, you know, Privateer, the Wing Commanders. I remember playing, like, Ace of Aces on my dad's 386, you know, with the DOS shell operating system. You know, I've always been into games and stuff, but the industry has just changed, you know, and the monetization models. And it's kind of a bummer, though. I mean, not to get too sidetracked, but games used to be just made by gamers that loved games, right? But it's become a very corporate, huge money-making, you know, operation. There's still good stuff out there, but it seems to kind of be hit or miss. Like, Valheim's a good example. Like, that's an excellent, excellent game. And you buy it once, and you own it, and it's continually being updated, and it was made by, like, a couple dudes in their dorm room, I believe, and it's really, really good. You can still run across those, but I think in general, AAA has been bad. And I think Star Trek Online, I mean, it never was a huge game. I mean, it just never competed with, you know, with SOTOR or anything like that, but it's got a niche, you know, and there's nothing else that's this IP that is like this. And the game itself is unique. I mean, for all the problems that, we'll complain about and stuff, there's nothing else that has space combat that's quite like this, and the ability to, build your ship in such a complex, way with all these systems. It's a good and a bad thing, 'cause it's also a huge barrier, to entry for a lot of people. And the game doesn't do a great job at, explaining a lot of the stuff about, how to build your ship and things like that, which I guess is good for, people like me and Nick and Spencer and, the other Stowe content creators. But it is, they copied, I think, like the WoW setup, back in the day. And I feel like to a lot of extents, it had a rough start. So I feel like it never fully got, all the systems fully got fleshed out, right? Like, there's no Trinity. Nick talks about this all the time because he plays WoW and stuff like that. And there's not, there are tanks, there is science, but there's not like a tank healer, DPS Trinity that, makes you, have to do one of those and makes you have to have all of those in order to, progress through, dungeons or TFOs, right? A lot of other games, they make you, like, you have to flag up. I wonder how Stowe could do that. I don't think it's going to happen. It obviously would be too much, but they would have to, like, change the randoms to where you were flagged up for one or the other, and they would have to make it needed too. And the way that it's currently built, I don't think that's going to happen. City of Heroes, I played that on, I think it was like a private server or something like that a while back. I didn't stick with it, but it was really cool. Hyperion was, it was a pretty unique looking ship. It was a pretty decent platform. The parts that came off it were really good. Like the trait, the 5 magics, and the console was at Dragon's Breath. I use them on my my main free-to-play on the Disruptor build, and those were some good parts they gave us on that. In fact, most of the event ships we've been getting lately are pretty good. I mean, I'm still using last year's anniversary ship. It was the pilot raider ship. What was it called? I can't remember, but it's really good. And I mean, on a lot of the meta builds too, and this isn't, a full meta build, but, like this console here and this console here, both of these are from the last couple events, and these are being used on, the super high-end meta stuff. Does it, Dragon's Breath, does it scale off EPG on science builds? Like the actual damage from it? The Rex, yeah, that's the one. And I just love the way that ship flies. It's so badass. Nick, what are we doing? I'm scared. I was going to get a refill, but... yeah, the Rex is a good ship. After whatever Nick's dragging me into, I'm going to grab a drink, and then we'll take a look at that account. It's an engineer that I'm running the Rex on. And it's got very, very little, but I've been able to just dial it in with what I have for it to do pretty decent. I mean, for what it is. Yeah, and being a pilot ship, you got to kind of get used to it because of the pilot maneuvers. But anytime I, play that for a little while, then I go on to, another account or one of my other characters, it just feels so bad. The ship's so slow compared to that pilot ship. Scales off engine power. That's right, because it drains it and slows you down. But on an EPG build, you could grab bunch of stuff in, then hit all of that stuff because of the area effect. Only engineers can tank? Any of the characters can tank. Oh, come on, dude. What are we going to do in here? Nick's to come beat up on me. Do I have anything that's going to be useful here? I don't think so. It's not fair. It's cheating. There's PvP. PvP, there is a community that does it. It's small, and if you take any of the builds that are on my channel or Nick's channel or anybody else's channel, you're gonna get just demolished by anybody that has even a basic PvP build setup. But it's actually it's really cool. I mean, it's intricate. You use a lot of things that you wouldn't normally use, and on some of those, like I'll watch some video of like Brett. He's kind of mainly the only one that I know that PvPs on a regular basis, but they're moving crazy fast. They're clicking all their buttons, and still watching their stream and targeting, the enemy. I don't know how they do it. I mean, it takes some real skill to do PvP in this game. The whole community in this is just Nick. All right, I'm gonna grab a drink real quick, guys. Give me just like a minute, and then I'm gonna jump over to that free-to-play engineer, and we'll take just a quick look at that for some funsies real fast. Let me find the buttons. All right, I'll be back in just a minute, guys. All right. Oh, I needed that water. Yeah, I don't think the community at large is a big fan of PvP. I don't really want to get into that too much, why that is, but I don't mind it, and I play a lot of other games that are PvP, heavy. PvP heavy where you like lose everything and stuff, and the that loss factor in those games is to me what makes it fun. I'm not someone that gets upset though about it at all. I would like to do more, I don't want to say more because I don't really do any, but I would consider doing PvP if the game supported it a little bit better. It's really kind of gone by the wayside in terms of support from the game. They do drop in like things that would be really good for it, but it's not on purpose. It's not for that. It just happens to work in those scenarios. Let me switch ships, but this is something I'm working on, and this is what I was going to look at. I need to downgrade it, I think, a little bit more for one of the budget builds. But what I'm kind of experimenting with is using ISO mags, but using either beam or cannon ones, because they're not that much underpowered from if you do let's say a phaser ISO mag. But a phaser ISO mag is a nightmare to farm, or it's really expensive. So for a full set, you're going to spend over 100 million. But I bought these for, I upgraded them myself, but I bought Mark II versions of it for like 200K. I mean, it wasn't very much at all. So I got all of them for like under 2 million. And so I think that there's a good use case for going like the beams modifier or the cannons, depending on your build, and being able to run ISOMAG on a more budget kind of level and it do very, very well. So this is kind of still in the works. I was kind of playing with it on this ship as kind of a placeholder, but this is the event ship from 2 years ago, the winter event ship, I believe it was. And it's another pretty decent ship. You can tank with it. You can't do awesome tanking with it because it doesn't have a full spec, but you can at least do Suppression Barrage 2 on it, and it does have intel. And it's a TNG ship, which I really, really like. Let's jump into the Rex. Back in 2012, almost all players PvP'd. PvP queues were popping, really. Yeah, it's a shame that it hasn't been supported more in order to keep that because I mean that would expand the overall player base too. Yeah, I think using the ISO mags, I think it's going to work out good. My initial testing I've done so far is pretty decent. I've been doing it on Fire at Will because I just like it, but I think we'd probably be better off. Why is that not turning off? I think we'd probably be better off doing it with Cannon Scatter Volley if we really want to show like how good we could really do with it, you know? Because Scatter Volley is just going to do more damage than Fire at Will is going to do. And this is really taking forever to load. Yeah, that's kind of weird. Why is that there? What is happening with my game right now? So it should be the anniversary one, right? Oh, it is showing the next event. I wonder if that's been, that hasn't been put on the blog yet, has it? I got a screen capture of it. That's interesting, guys. I didn't notice that earlier. Let me pull up the, their blog and see if that's been announced on there. I just changed ships and it's taken forever, so I don't know what's going on. Let's see, news. All right, so we got the anniversary ship bundle, Zen sale, PC patch notes. This is from the 12th. I mean, it would be its own blog post all by itself. No, there's that's a mistake. I wonder if it has anything to do with, is anybody else seeing this in game when they're changing? So I wonder if this is just some kind of glitch and that's why it's also taking forever to load my ship. That would be pretty cool, ground PvP. I remember doing some ground PvP. I forgot why. Maybe it was early on endeavors or something like that. Is there still ground maps for PvP? Lucero? I don't know if I'm saying that right. You're seeing the same screen? Well, I don't know why this is not loading. I don't have any other instances open. So universal console, reflective crystallized shielding. March 18th, so that's in 3 days. So that's what, Tuesday? I think I'm gonna have to kill the game and relaunch it real quick. You have long lag and see, and I can like hear the game around me. Like I hear people warping in. All right, I'm gonna kill the game and relaunch it. And I'm just gonna cover my screen while I log in here. I put this shelf up in the back over here. It's actually a cabinet, but I got it from an auction and it was missing like this piece. But it, I want to find a way to light it up because I have some kind of cool stuff on there. I have a signed. I was telling Nick about this and he's like, "Who?" But I got a signed Cindy Crawford photo on there, which is really cool. And then I have also on the top shelf there's a. I don't know if you guys remember this. You remember laser discs? They were like before DVDs, but they were. Basically record size DVDs, and I have a Star Wars one. I think it's Return of the Jedi, but it has some really cool like album art, you know, is what it looks like on there. I get even with it lit up, I guess you wouldn't be able to see it back here, but I'm just happy now like being in the new house, like because before I collected all this stuff, but it would always just be like boxed up because I just didn't have anywhere to put any of it, you know. Nick has a spare disco light. All right, here we are. All right, so here is the Rex. Let's make sure the loadout is not messed up. Yeah, so this is engineer, and this probably has... Why isn't that loading in? Let me check my duty officers. This has very little in the way of premium stuff. Oh, I think I have too many duty officers, and it's not switching those over. So I'm using some rep stuff, and then I'm using some reward stuff from campaigns. C-store ship, C-store ship. This comes from the... it comes from a C-store ship, but you can get it from the Klingon recruit. And then I had this from like a long time ago, because you used to be able to get Honor Dead before cross-faction ship flying was available. This was something you could get out of the cross-faction trait boxes for like literally like almost free. Oh, sorry. Here we go. So here's the Rex. We'll start over. That was a fail and a half. At least my mic's unmuted. So it's all very somewhat budgety, but lots of rep stuff. This account I played the event campaign last year, and then also that event that they gave us the Phoenix Epic coupon. So it has some nice stuff on it, but all of it, I've basically been able to acquire everything from this for this basically just over this last year, with the exception of Honor Dead, which is something that was just because I've had this account for years, but I just never played it. And so I had Honor Dead on it because that used to be like pennies on the dollar. It's really expensive now, but so the rest of it is either event stuff, or it's C-store, or it's Klingon recruit, like for the Withering Barrage. This comes from Specialization, so we got C-store, C-store, C-store. And that's basically all it has in terms of quote-unquote premium stuff. In terms of the gear, this is just odds and ends. You know, phasers, you can use basically anything, but we're using rep. And then I have the prolonged on here. I must have done the prolonged event years back when I did first make this. Using all rep stuff and fleet stuff for the space sets. Pavin Omni, I'm glad I got that last year because this has turned out to be just a really, really good Omni array. Rep gear, fleet stuff, event, C-store, Lobi, rep. So I would call this a pretty budget build, right? I mean, is that fair to say, you think, guys? I mean, if somebody wanted to put this together, something very close to it, you would couple C-store ships. The only problem at this point is that anybody coming into the game new is not going to, on a budget level, is not going to be able to get event stuff, right? Because it's going to basically be unobtainable for the next year or so. Then it's going to go in the MUDs market for way overpriced. So that's kind of a problem with some of this as well, because on a free-to-play account and being able, or wanting to be able to show off, okay, what you could do on a budget also, makes... So you need to be able to utilize event stuff. And I'm sure there's going to be event stuff that's coming, that we'll get throughout this year that'll be usable. But anybody that didn't play the game last year is not going to be able to basically get some of this stuff. So it kind of makes it tough, when you're trying to maximize a budget build. Really, for long-term viability, it would really need to be not have any event stuff in it, right? I mean, because again, if somebody new coming into the game, came in last month, they're not going to be able to get this stuff, at least not on a budget level and not for a decent amount of time. But this build does pretty good. I mean, it's an engineer, so I don't have some of those perks from the tactical officers. Again, pretty budget on the traits that we have here. I think I'm running, strategist intel, and my standard basically skill tree here. Duty officers are something I neglect all the time. It's just, if you want really good duty officers, they cost more than like Lobi ships do. And so it's really hard for me to spend that kind of EC on, duty officers and stuff. So again, event, duty officer, which this event comes up every year. Recruitment events, Phoenix store. And then the rest of this is this kind of cheaper, budgety stuff that I was able to pick up pretty inexpensive. But it's super fun to fly, and I've had a really good time, putting it together with, the minimal stuff that I have available to me. Martin, have a good night, man. I appreciate you being here. Yeah, David, and I haven't taken any like major breaks, but I have taken some like breaks from like, I don't want to do another event. Like I'm just evented out, doing 20 of the same episode or, whatever. And it never fails. Every time I do that, it always ends up being something super good. And it's only those ones that I skip somehow. Like I skipped the Tholian Warp Core on my main free-to-play, which I've been, using for 3 years or so. I skipped that event on my free-to-play, and now I really, really regret it, because that would have been a really good upgrade for that account for free that I'm not ever really going to be able to get, because I'm not going to buy that from the MUD store. All right. I'm going to do one last ISA in this budget build, see how we do, and then I think that'll be it for me for tonight. I do appreciate everybody hanging out. I'm trying to get together a good list of stuff video-wise to put out. I want to stick with kind of the main stuff that I've been doing. I'm going to actually decline this, guys. I'm going to re-click it here, because if anyone wants to get in, you would just be seeing it now that I was saying that. All right, infected, advanced. So yeah, I want to continue down, the how-to. I don't like doing like ship build videos, because there's so many ships and everybody has something different. So I really like to kind of work around conceptually, if you're going to build X, here are the things you want to kind of consider. And there's, tons and tons of different ways you can go about achieving, different degrees of those things that you need to. So I think I'm probably going to start with doing an updated list of, best starship traits for, cannon scatter volley, for fire at will, for whatever. Jesus, that's really delayed. You declined. Yeah, I know I declined. That was like a minute ago. So I'll probably put out like a 4-video series for that. And I might even go into maybe, I don't know, about doing like mission reward stuff. There's some good stuff out there, but there's just not tons of it. And I'd like to be able to do most of it for the advanced, difficulty level is really kind of what I'm looking for. So I'll probably do scatter volley, fire at will, tanking, maybe science, and I'll probably keep all of it to C-store stuff. Maybe we'll do like some honorable mentions at the end, but again, I want to keep the scope of, what I'm talking about and what I'm recommending to, the sanity level, in terms of dollar amount. So I don't want to go out and be like, oh, you need to have universal designs. It's a really good trait and you can use it on everything, but it's a promo ship. And so if you're not going to wait for an event campaign completion to get that, that's going to cost you potentially hundreds of dollars. Started budget build with alternative items. Yeah. And the thing is you can make stuff work. It might not like do the best numbers and stuff, but that doesn't matter. I mean, if you can complete TFOs or, what you're doing and survive the whole time and contribute to the team, like that's winning, right? Is it just me, or I feel like when I'm around Deep Space Nine, TFOs take way longer to pop? I think something's going on with the servers though, because I declined that last one and the fly-in didn't even come up until a minute or so later. I'm going to beam down. But I feel like whenever I'm around Deep Space Nine, stuff takes forever to pop. Speaking of Space Barbie, I just got this armor unlocked. I think it looks pretty good. I wish I could put a Starfleet like black badge on it though, but you can't. Anyone want to get in? Oh, guys. Whew. That was almost a nightmare. That's why. Now I'm clicking it. Sorry if you were trying to get in. You guys are all getting in without me. I was just talking about that screw up too, and then there it goes. Because it's getting late. Oh, you know what? I canceled the game too, so let me relaunch the combat log when I get in here.
The situation is grim. All attempts to hail the starbase have failed. We must assume the enemy has taken it. This is not acceptable. There's more. Scans indicate them.
All right. Sorry if you guys got into one of those and I wasn't there. It's a noob mistake. I don't have uncon on this. It's very, very budget. Main problem I find is that just the damage output just really falls off towards the end because I can't, refresh anything. Oh, the piloting. Oh, my bad. I moved too fast. away from that before it blows me up. Man, the ship is squirrely. But I do really like it. It looks really good. Sometimes it's kind of hard to tell which way it's facing, like when stuff's all bright like that. It's kind of a bummer sometimes, but... looks like everything's clear. Alright, GG. Let's see how that went. Need some Pink Floyd, right? That was actually one of the better runs that I've been able to do. So 241,000 DPS. That's pretty good for a budget build. 30 seconds too long? Yeah. But no, that went well. Everybody's helping, everybody's doing good. Anybody die? No deaths. That's a good run. So what did the most damage on here? So our dual heavy cannons, I'll have to look how it breaks those up. Terran Task Force is such a good weapon. Because I think this is at least, what, this is 3? I think this is, no, because it's separating out the radiological. So is this is 2 cannons. So the Terran Task Force did almost as much as 2 others. It's also in the first slot, so it's going to get the most fire cycle out of it. That that Pavin Omni, the secondary effect, the Resonant Shockwave, it always does pretty well. Prolonged is kind of hit or miss for me, but it was free, so... My Cellular Lightning did not do as well as it normally does. You normally get about 30 out of that. I think stuff was just dying quick enough, so... But anyways, that's just an example of, you know, you don't have to have all the things and spend, you know, thousands of dollars. And I mean, doing 200 or more in any of the advanced content in the game is, you're not going to have any problems, you know, and you're going to be on the higher end of, you know, top 10% in the game. I know a lot of people don't like to play it that way, and that's not what it's all about for them. And, you know, I get that, and that's cool. I mean, like I said in the last video, I mean, however you decide to play the game to have fun is the right way for you to play the game. I mean, because that's all that matters. It's a game. It's here to have a good time. I personally like to just play with builds and try and get as much as I can out of them. But my goal is to be able to, you know, anyone that wants to up damage without spending tons of money, to have, you know, that information basically available for you. You can re-roll isomags, yes. And it's a nightmare. There's so many, like, let's pull one up. There's so many modifiers for those. I can't pull one up in here. Are they in my inventory? They're on another ship. Let me see. The amount of modifiers is nuts. You'll eat through your dilithium so fast. It's ridiculous. Look at that. That's insane. And you know what drives me nuts is I'll re-roll these and I'll get, like, for instance, I'll get like plasma resistance, cannons, and then, like, say I'm going for phaser, whatever it is, right? But I'll start to get the same thing. Like, it's ridiculous. I shouldn't roll this and get the same thing more than, like, once or twice. I find, too, like, when you modify things that have multiple modifiers, I'll, like, say, you know, like a weapon, for instance. I won't actually do it, but, like, let's say you were going to modify this weapon. So, re-engineer. And let's say I wanted all damage, like, you know, I've tried to get here. So I'll go, like, all of them, and I'll start rolling them. Get a damage one, lock it. Get another damage one, lock it. When I get to these last two, I'll roll it, and it's like it gets stuck in the same cycle. So it'll just, like, go, and it'll be like accuracy and, you know, crit H, and then I'll roll it again, and then it's back to crit D, and I'll roll it again, and it's accuracy and crit H, and I have to lock one, roll this one by itself. It's like it gets stuck in like this rotation. It's ridiculous. Milan, how you doing? Anyways, I don't want to get down that rabbit hole, but it just bothers me that it'll start eating up your dilithium and resources, and you you know, you're just getting the same rolls basically. It's rotating between. It's kind of a bummer. All right, guys, I think that is going to do it for me tonight. I am getting pretty tired. I was planning on, when did I go live? I was only gonna, I think it was 9:45. I was gonna go till like 10:45, but I was just having such a good time that time just flies by. Tomorrow's Sunday for me. My oldest kid's birthday, it's on Monday, so we're gonna do Outback Steakhouse. I love that place. My kid's like, lately he's turning 15, and he never really was into steak, but over like the last year he's like really like into it. It was always weird to me, like I don't understand how you can't like steak. I know some people just don't, and you know, whatever reason, but I love eating steak. If you look at the Discord server and the food section, I'm constantly posting it. But anyways, they have prime rib there, and they do it Outback style. It's making me hungry just talking about it, where they like, prime rib's good, but I can only eat so much of it because like the texture and stuff, and they sear it with like their blackened seasoning, and it's so good. It makes it closer to ribeye, but it still has that prime rib kind of texture inside. It's just super awesome. Oh, now I'm starving. And it's way too late to eat. I can't eat late like this anymore. I'm getting old. It's hitting me. Anyways, so I got some good plans tomorrow, and I'm excited for that. I hope you guys do as well. I will be live next weekend as well. I'm not sure if it'll be same Saturday or Sunday. I still have a lot of house stuff going on, but normally I'm done by, you know, like 6, 7 o'clock when it gets dark. And so I will get a schedule together and just schedule them out, you know, in advance, so there's a little bit more notice for everybody. If you haven't checked out the Discord server, there's a link down in the description. Check that out. Lots of help in there, lots of fun stuff, food pictures. We do a lot of giveaways and stuff in there. We'll start up some more of those here soon. I think that's it, guys. I appreciate you. Till next time, stay safe and have a good one. Have a good night, Dwayne. Grumpy, thank you again for the gifted memberships, man. I really appreciate that. Justin, have a good one. David, have a good one, man. Milan, is that solar? The picture makes me think of that. If not, I apologize, and thank you for being here. I appreciate you. Thomas R., have a good one. Yeah, sorry, man. Just getting done. You can watch the VOD, though. I know it's not as much fun, but I'll be live again next week. Crusher, have a good one, man. We have always lived in a castle. That's an awesome name. Fire up the grill late, man. Do it. Steak and eggs. That's one of my favorite. All right, I got to stop. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you. King, have a good one. Augie, good to see you, man. I hope you're doing good. Milan, you just woke up? I missed you. Lucaro, I'm butchering your name. Nukuro, I'm so terrible. Have a good one. GG's. Rob, have a good night, man. Have a good night, guys. I appreciate you.